We're back. We're back.
Bing bong.
Has anyone ever seen an Eli Roth movie before? I have not. Pretty sure I haven't. And Eli Roth, this guy loves not leaving anything out of his horror movies. I saw this Thanksgiving horror slasher, literally called Thanksgiving. I saw the trailer. Trailer looked great. I'm a big fan of slashers ever since Scream. I'm a little new to like the horror game because it wasn't until I think Get Out like really opened my eyes to what horror movies could be. Although it's funny because like Thanksgiving I think is legitimately the exact type of horror movie that I would typically avoid because I was never really one for like guts and all over the screen and people's heads getting chopped off. If you also are not into that kind of stuff, then let me tell you, do not go see this movie. It's very violent. If you are into that stuff, weird way to phrase it, if you don't mind that kind of stuff in your horror movies, this movie's awesome. I think the movie is awesome, regardless of all of the over-the-top violence. But I think that's part of what made this movie so great, at least to me, is like, it was over the top on purpose to the point where it was kind of goofy, which I think was also good. This movie knows exactly what it is from start to finish. It is a horror movie about a town that goes through a Thanksgiving, Black Friday riot. This is like, dude, I want to say like 10 years ago. Stores started opening on Thanksgiving for Black Friday, like Walmart, Target, Best Buy, all those kinds of places. They would open at 4:00 on Thanksgiving, and they would have like, come in, you get a free fucking 50-inch TV. We're gonna give you $1,000, like just some stupid, ridiculous deals, and it's all targeted at people that usually can't afford it, which I was definitely in that category. But that's why I never went. Is like there were like stories of like stampedes and people getting trampled to death. That is literally how this movie opens. It literally opens with a Black Friday stampede. It's like giving me PTSD to like how this shit used to be. And it's great now that everything's online. Like nobody even goes out on Black Friday anymore. And the people that do are certainly not trampling anyone to death. That's how this movie opens. And then the Black Friday massacre that occurs ends up spawning this one person who's really bitter at the town and the consumerism and the greed, and they go around and they start to kill the people that were involved for starting that Black Friday insane craze and whatnot that occurred that led to people dying. Great concept. Like right off the bat, phenomenal concept for this film. And from there, it's really just Eli Roth going like, hey, how realistic can we make this person's guts coming out of their body? How realistic can we make it look if we behead this person, shoot them with a nail gun, that kind of stuff? Normally, in certain horror movies, these things would happen and they would like cut away. Like, oh my God, it's so violent. We can't even show you how crazy all this shit was about to get. No, not in this one. Eli Roth, he shows all of it, but it's kind of comical. I mean, there's some great kills in this movie, do not get me wrong, but I think part of the reason I like this film so much is that it's so over the top that it's like you're definitely, there's aspects of it where you're like disgusted at what you're seeing on the screen, but it's also so dumb, and the movie knows that it's being dumb, but in a smart way. I don't know, it's a very unique hybrid style within like the horror genre. But I will say, as somebody that loves seasonal horror movies, I think that Thanksgiving, part of what makes this movie so great is that Thanksgiving is really kind of just become sort of a forgotten holiday. And the violent part of it should definitely be not idolized, because that's most of America. Traditions are founded on a lot of bloodshed. But what I like about the movie is that it is bringing up the fact that people totally look past Thanksgiving, which is supposed to be, at least internally, this holiday about what you're thankful for and what you're happy for. It skips right to Christmas, right to consumerism and buying stuff and, being overly materialistic. It's the first Thanksgiving horror movie. I mean, there are so many Krampus movies. There are so many like Halloween movies, literally the Halloween franchise, and then just other movies based around Halloween. There are so many movies based around, other seasonal holidays. And the horror genre, as well as a lot of other movies, just ignore Thanksgiving, which is a shame, because this movie showed that Thanksgiving is it's so open to being a perfect vehicle for a horror movie. Eli, you knocked it out of the park. I thought this movie was so great. The casting is the Netflix strategy of like one famous person and then a bunch of other people that you've probably never seen before. But they're all great. They're all game. It's very cartoony, I think. It's like some of the violence is very cartoony. Some of these kills they're so quick. But they're disgusting. And then there's other ones that are so slow and like torturous, and they're showing you what's happening. I'm just like, this is a lot. It's so goofy, but it is a lot. There are some great Thanksgiving puns in this film as well. I think it's really well written. I think it's so steeped in sarcasm and, you know, the typical like holding a mirror up to society and being like, how did we get here? What happened along the road that things have gotten this bad? It all works. I think if you're, you know, a fan of any horror slasher, right? The Scream franchise, Halloween. Actually, this kind of like oddly reminded me of like Happy Death Day, because it's like this, you know, guy wearing a goofy mask. It's great. The slasher genre, you know, now that Scream is back full time, we're eating good again. We need more horror movies that are like, that want to be goofy, that want to make fun of themselves, but also give the characters in the film like realistic motivations to act like insane, which this movie also does, which is kind of surprising, because as you're going along, you're trying to figure out obviously who's the killer, who was motivated to do all this, and then when they reveal the killer, you're like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. I get it, because I was fully ready for it to either be someone that didn't make any sense at all, or somebody like way too obvious. And no, I was totally like, oh shit, that was a smart choice. This is a movie that I'm probably gonna be watching every year from now on. Definitely either before or after, you know, like a week before or a week after Thanksgiving, because I don't think, unless you've got a really, really strong stomach, I don't think this is the kind of movie that you want to watch right before you eat Thanksgiving dinner, especially for, one specific scene that does take place at a dinner table. But there are plenty of other scenes throughout this movie that will make you lose your appetite immediately. However, if you are able to stomach some of the violence in this film, it's totally worth going to see. If you're into over-the-top special effects, practically done, I think, most of the time. This is one you do not want to miss. There were so many moments in this film where I'm just like, how do you come up with the idea? And then how do you like go to your, you know, props and makeup department? And you're like, hey, can we actually make this look real and disgusting? And apparently a lot of the time in this movie, they're like, yeah, you want guts? We got you, bro. This was an incredibly enjoyable film. Go see Thanksgiving if you're a horror movie fan. This is going to be part of the rotation for years to come. Maybe we get sequels. You know, I love when Scream does 7 movies, so maybe we'll get a new Thanksgiving every year. Every couple of years, I'd be totally down. It's nice that we finally got a Thanksgiving horror movie.